So a couple months back in April, I released a video titled "The Problem with the LEGO Collectible Minifigures," which was essentially all the criticism I had to share with LEGO's second ever CMF series that had switched over to the new boxed medium. Without having to go back and watch the previous video on that topic, I will just summarize the problems, as well as what my personal issues were regarding the collectible minifigure series. Okay, so back in September of 2023, LEGO released their first ever CMF series with the switch over from foil bags to boxes. It was a sort of polarizing and controversial change that was tempered by a response from LEGO that the new box format was meant to be made for the sake of sustainability and moving away from plastic waste. At the time, I didn't really buy that idea because it feels like a lot of the moves that LEGO was making was greenwashing, as in hiding the true intention behind an environmentally friendly cause. Don't get me wrong, I think LEGO isn't an evil company at all, but they are in the business of making money, and I think even the most basic investigation into why they switched over from the previous format was because it makes it harder to check what's inside the boxes and makes consumers purchase more of the product and end up with duplicates. The statement was performative at best, borderline insulting at worst, to think that people wouldn't see past it. Either way, the community was able to get really creative in figuring out what's inside the boxes without tampering with them too much. From using pinhole cameras to weighing what's inside, it was truly a wild time to be collecting CMFs. Personally, I opted for weighing them as it was the absolute best option at the time, since the second series that rolled around only had about less than half of the matrix codes being scannable. I'm not really sure if this was intentional or a production issue, but if you open up some of the scanning apps that are available today, which weren't available back when I made that video, they even have a little warning that says that you cannot scan the smaller matrix codes, only the big ones. While this issue has largely been resolved since the video's release, I'm sort of surprised that people weren't checking the date the video was published, but it's understandable since I don't really think most people are looking at the issue with a close lens, or at least able to chronologically sort out when exactly scanning boxes became a viable option. The video, of course, just happened to be recommended to them at a sort of inopportune time. The majority of my videos are like that for some reason. They'll do pretty terribly over the first month, and then suddenly 6-7 months later the video will gain traction, but by then there already were so many new developments since the date of publishing. The last thing I want to say is that I'm a bit confused by some of the comments that were sort of upset at the idea that the point of collectible minifigure series is that they're supposed to be a blind bag random chance. While that is in spirit sort of the point of CMFs, it really isn't explicitly stated that they are mystery boxes. Here's my problem with this argument. If everyone theoretically has the tools to identify which figure is in which box, at no extra cost to you, and a lot of other people are already searching for these figures, why would you actively put yourself at a disadvantage? Imagine someone comes up to your local retail store and scans the boxes out to see which figure is which, precisely picking off, let's just say, the Dragonborn from Dungeons & Dragons. Then you come in hoping to purchase the Dragonborn at random chance, but the realistic probability is 0. In every sense of the word, you end up losing a lot more money in the long run, hoping rather than knowing which figure you are receiving. Regardless of the scenario, I still hold firm the belief that consumers of products should be given the right to know what they are purchasing one way or another. It shouldn't be left up to chance if you want a specific product. You shouldn't have to jump through hoops just to purchase the right one, and you definitely shouldn't feel cheated on something as trivial as a collectible toy. With everything being so unaffordable and expensive these days, I just don't see consumers willingly putting up with guessing and hoping for the best. I will say this, but companies do not have your best interest in mind. Defending something like this is just jarring because who wouldn't want to fight for broader consumer protections? Even then, the point is nullified because it seems like LEGO has done a compromise by giving us readable and identifiable matrix codes on every series, starting with the LEGO Space CMF. Oh, and yeah, last thing before I move on to Dungeons & Dragons, to address the commenters concerned about me supposedly scalping the goat herders and Basil Batlords, no, I'm not really scalping them. None of the figures shown in that video has ever made it into the secondhand market. After I purchased them, they remained with me. Unlike a lot of other content creators, I actually don't have my own centralized storefront, nor do I really get any sort of kickbacks out of purchasing multiple quantities of figures. I have done this concurrently with every CMF series that I personally found to be enjoyable, regardless of their actual resale value. I'm not as much of a cartoonishly evil villain as some of the people in this community actually are, but yeah, since then, I've purchased a lot of Beetlezoids and Ice Planet Explorers just for my own personal collection. By the way, if you're looking to add a complete pack or even an entire case of LEGO CMFs to your collection, Minifigures Plus has you covered. They carry everything from 6 packs to full cases, and by using my affiliate link in the description, you'll not only get what you need, but you can also support the channel at the same time. Anyway, let's get back to the video. I think you're caught up now, so we can actually talk about the newer Dungeons & Dragons CMF. It was released in September and officially retired on December 24th of last year. So to be completely transparent about the angle that I'm approaching this from, it's nowhere near the usual review where the reviewer ends up talking about the quality or the specific details about the CMFs. I'm not really here for that, as I don't really know all too much about Dungeons & Dragons, other than I think it's a rare and unique IP collaboration with LEGO and Wizards of the Coast. However, I think what's more interesting is the collecting behavior for these figures. So in the previous video, I stated that the pattern has and always will be 2 desirable minifigures in a series that'll be searched for more than the rest of the series. These figures will usually be worth double, often triple the price after being identified and purchased simply because there isn't enough supply for the demand of the figure. Originally, in the previous video, I thought that the Dungeons & Dragons CMF line would be completely different from all of the previous series because I felt that every figure in the series was near perfect and there wasn't a single wasted character slot in the entire wave. I still hold this as an opinion, but I no longer consider this to be fact. I was proven wrong, as it turns out the D&D CMF is no different than the previous ones. The Dragonborn Paladin and the Mind Flayer are considered to be the most valuable CMFs in the series simply because they are both amassable figures. The Dragonborn is valuable because the armor pieces have been a great use for fans of castle factions to suit up their arsenal of figures with a full suit of well-detailed armor that actually doesn't have all that much branding to identify it as a Dungeons & Dragons figure, but more so a generic knight. Well, aside from the shield insignia, of course. The Mind Flayer is valuable because the character is amassable. Fans of D&D note that they are often found in troves throughout the lore, but still, I'm very surprised that the value of these figures wasn't more evenly rounded, especially because there is an incentive to own duplicates of some of the characters for their male and female expressions. Aside from that, all of the other figures are nominally priced and often stay at retail or below the retail price once opened. So that leaves us with Series 27, which is the latest CMF series that dropped on January 1st. I originally wrote this video before the 1st of January, but I've had to delay the video several times because I just feel like there's more new information coming to light week by week. Either way, I think it's safe to say the pattern is continuing with the next series. Except this time the Wolfpack Knight is considered to be the highlight of the series. I don't really think any of the other figures here are actually going to be in high demand or anything. I mean, personally, this one's going to be hard to explain, but I present to you the Catboy Twink. I posted this figure a couple weeks back, and the post is based off of another user's post over on the LEGO Circle Jerk subreddit, and it's the introduction of the Catboy Twink wearing a trans flag sweater. But I think this figure is the highlight of the series simply because of how much hype has unexpectedly been built up around several memes and edits I've posted about the Catboy CMF, and also because it's just something that a lot of LGBTQ people can lean into and appreciate. After my post on Instagram popularizing and coining the name LEGO Twink, there's been tons and tons of fan art inspired by artists just for the Cat Lover CMF figure. I wasn't expecting all of this at all, but the initial post amassed nearly 2 million views, with future posts totaling at nearly 6 million from just my account alone. I guess this is the time for me to say that I really hope LEGO decides to produce more figures with this sort of messaging, because honestly, it made a lot of new and existing fans feel seen. Anyways, that's all I have for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.